board will now convene to open session and report out from closed session. Relative to closed session items 3.1, I may have a motion and a second to approve readmission of student number 1.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
None.
Roll call. Item 3.2, student discipline matters, Ed Code Section 48900. The board, in closed session, agreed to approve the issuance of subpoenas as requested by both the district and the students represented in the expulsion case. Relative to items 3.3 and 3.4, there's nothing to report. Would the students please lead us in the pledge?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Frick.
Here.
Gonzalez.
Here.
Ford.
Here.
Hamlin.
Here.
Chima.
Here.
Wong.
Here.
Nishihira.
Here. Moving on to item 5.3, approval of the agenda. Tonight's agenda is being amended to reflect the following. Item 6.1, recognition of Dakota School for Independent Study, student Armando Wright from the AXA Region 6. Due to a family emergency, Armando is unable to attend. We will reschedule this recognition for a future board meeting. Consent agenda item 12.5, approval of multiple days out state field trip, is being removed as there is nothing for an approval. So with that amendment in mind, may I have a motion and a second to approve tonight's agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
None.
Roll call, please.
Frick.
Aye.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Ford.
Aye.
Hamlin.
Aye.
Chima.
Aye.
Wong.
Aye.
Nishihira.
Aye. Moving on to item 6.2, Union City Family Center biannual board update. Unicity Family Center, a project of the New Haven Unified School District, will present our biannual update to the Board of Education and the public as required by multiple grant funders. The topics I'll let Nancy.
Good evening, President Nishihara, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Dr. Thompson. We're going to get right into the meat of this because I have people telling me that I'm going to get the hook if I go too long, so I want to honor that. And we're going to start with a video that we put together called our impact video. So if you can pay attention to the video that Mr. Hampton's about to start for us. Okay, this doesn't count against my time. See the daggers. It's a really good video. Are you enjoying it so far? Yeah. While he's getting that started, I will thank you for the opportunity to come before the board. We come biannually to give you updates about what's happening at the Family Center. And tonight is just a snapshot of what's happening, and I would love for any and all of you, when you get a chance, to come by for a visit and a tour and see all the updated things that are happening there. And I'm going to go ahead and share about one of the slides that you don't necessarily need to see to be able to understand it. We're excited about some good news out of Governor Newsom's office. He has shared a proposal to possibly set aside about $300 million in funding in order to support innovative community school models. And that feels like pretty good news to us because how he describes those models is an exact fit for the Family Center and the way we work. And so we're looking forward to the potential of seeing some funding come available for the kind of work that we're doing. So we're pretty excited about that. And here we go.
Full classroom together.
At Union City Family Center, our whole approach is based on the idea that as you lift up the community, you lift up the children in the community to be more successful.
We've been partnering with the Union City Family Center almost from the beginning because it was such an innovative and bold move.
Since 2013, more than 10,000 individuals have received services through UCFC.
Through the First 5 funding and Fremont Bank, we're able to put a beautiful classroom together.
First 5 invested in the Family Center because the programming that is offered here is fantastic for kids, for providers, for families.
The reality is that not everybody is thriving during this economy.
So every week we get about 300 people coming into the line and distributing about 1,500 pounds of produce.
They provide clothing, they provide materials for the children, and a wonderful amenity, which was the first thing we found out about, was Washington Hospital on Wheels.
They help with applying for Medi-Cal, they will help you with the application process, they help with housing issues.
The goal for me at my site is to make the families feel welcome and to be there for them.
Being able to participate and collaborate as a parent at the school site, it's amazing what it can do for a child's success.
The Union City Family Center is a place where individuals can come at any point in their life, being as vulnerable as they may be, and feel accepted and be given the resources, the tools that they need to have an honest shot at changing the trajectory of their family's life.
The Union City Family Center really pulls together community organizations, faith-based, nonprofit, public organizations, private organizations, all really around a collective goal of supporting kids and families.
We believe that there's a great return on investment with the programs that we provide.
The value of the Family Center is that it is deeply embedded in the community.
Families have better outcomes when they have a place they can go that respects them and is there to help them and is not a bureaucratic nightmare that they take a number and hope sometime something might happen.
When children are able to come to school and get vision screenings and have access to free glasses, get dental treatments, and just be at school and be comfortable, we see attendance go up.
The cost of prevention is much lower than dealing with downstream, issues.
In these times of limited resources, we need to work with partners who have similar visions so that we can leverage our resources.
Our goal at the Family Center is to work with the community, not for the community. We believe that this community has a multitude of assets that we're able to build on, support, and help to grow. So Tony, if you can flip over to the PowerPoint now. So as you saw in the video, we work with a lot of different partners. I just wanted to, we'll show you a few, but you saw them listed in the video. But I wanted to point out a new partner this year is an organization called Help a Mother Out. And they are going to be providing a monthly supply of diapers to 80 to 100 families in need, specifically in our New Haven community. And so we're really excited to have them on board. One of the many ways that we support students and families, aside from all of the services that you just saw highlighted, is that we do provide free after-school programs and summer programs at Cyril's, Emmanuel, and Cesar Chavez for over 300 kids total during the school year and even more during the summer. That's an important part of what we do to support families in need. As I'm sure you know, attendance is one of the best predictors of high school graduation. And at the Family Center, this is a really important part of our work that we do in collaboration with the school sites. And so I just wanted to share a little statistic with you. 2013-14 was the first year that we hired family service assistants in the district. We hired 2. And our chronic absenteeism was over 20% at that time. By 17-18, with a team of 8 family service assistants, chronic absenteeism was down below 8%. And we are extremely proud of that dramatic improvement. As you saw in the video, we outlined the health and wellness services that we provide, and I just wanted to point out that the vision and dental services that were referenced happen at the school sites across the district, and we believe that they are key in improving attendance and improving academic success. When kids can see, their mouths aren't hurting, they do much better. We wanted to share with you just a little snapshot of the demographics of who we serve, and this is for Q1 and Q2 of this year. What you'll notice is it's not too dissimilar from the district demographics, with 51% Latino, 14% African American, 20% Asian, and then serving a variety of other folks. And so we just thought it would be of interest to know about that. One of the things we pride ourselves in is responding to the needs of the community, and what we've seen over the last several years is a dramatic uptick in the need for support around basic needs and urgent living. And from 17-18 to 18-19, the services, the individual services that we provided in these areas listed more than doubled. And we were able to have this increase in service without any significant increase in our overall operating budget. So we feel like it's been a very efficient response to the needs of the community. We have high school students who directly access services that are coordinated out of the Family Center. At Logan, we have the Logan Family Center. And what we wanted to point out is the demographics for our high school students accessing services actually look a little bit different than the demographics for the whole family. And what this chart shows is that out of students surveyed at Logan, approximately a third were taking advantage of Family Center services, and that percentage was even higher for African American, Asian, and Pacific Islander students, and slightly higher for Latino students. This chart shows you from that same survey data that when students are accessing the basic needs services through the Family Center, they are actually better equipped to seek help, to build relationships and make connections at school, and to plan for college. So the bars in green indicate those that are using Family Center services, and in gray are those that are not. You can see that there's a significant difference. And this chart is the same data, but disaggregating for Latino and African American students. You can see that the difference is even more significant. Critical to our success is the work that we do around seeking outside funding in order to support the services that we provide. And what you can see here is that over 75% of our funding, and growing, comes from outside sources. The funding that comes from LCFF directly supports initiatives that are in the LCAP or are mandated by state and federal mandates. What doesn't show up on there, thank you, Gavin, for pointing this out to me. The dark green sliver that doesn't have a title attached to it, that's actually the money from the city community development block grant. So that gives you a little idea of our funding. And this diverse funding allows us, this diverse funding allows us to multi-fund our staff. So this shows you all 14 of our staff members and the funding sources that they are paid out of. The two highest paid out of LCFF, 85% is me, and 100% is our secretary at the Family Center. And a big part of the work that both of us are doing is directly connected to the LCAP, but those are also percentages that we're working to reduce as quickly as we can. And I wanted to conclude by talking about the return on investment. We feel like there is a very positive return on investment for the work that we do. For every dollar of LCFF funds, about $3 come back to us at the district through improved attendance, increased enrollment, helping families to identify and fill out their eligibility forms for free and reduced lunch, bringing in after-school and summer care at no cost to the district. And this doesn't take into account all of the additional funds that we bring into the district to provide additional services. And last slide. Derek, are you so proud of me? In terms of our sustainability and long-term planning, we of course are continuing to seek private funding, foundation funding. We definitely want to position ourselves to be able to take advantage of the funds that the governor has alluded to. We're hoping they actually come to fruition. And we are almost complete with our 501c3 application. And just to clarify, that doesn't mean that the Family Center is becoming a 501c3. It's about creating a support organization that helps us to be eligible for private and foundation fundings that as a school district we're not eligible for. And I am happy to answer questions.
Okay, starting with the student board members.
I just want to say that the work that the Family Center, I think it's amazing, and I think it's so necessary, and I'm just grateful to be in a city and school district that offers this kind of support.
Thank you. And that's thanks to this team that's filling 2 rows right here tonight, coming out on their own time to support us. So they are the ones who make the magic. I just report it.
Member 4.
Do you have anything? Okay. Thank you for the presentation, and the video was actually really nice. It kind of sums up the whole program, so thank you for that. My first note is I was happy to have led a few of the fundraisers for the Family Center, and I think they were very successful, and also to connect you to donors who have been supportive of the program.
We deeply appreciate it.
Small part of that, so thank you for all that you guys do. But just a couple of questions, and I asked this last time too, and I'm still trying to understand this a little bit better for myself. So I saw Pedro in the video, and that, again, I'm thinking about it. So the Youth and Family Center that the city funds, and then the Family Center, how much of that specific or services are overlapped? Are there any, is the staff in Unicity Family Center supporting that program, or is it kind of in a partnership too?
It's definitely in a partnership. So what they do and what they focus on is definitely different than what we're actually. They have needs, we have needs. We look at where they align and where we can integrate. And so the Youth and Family Services, for example, is working with the Department of Justice to do a diversion program. So we assist them by working with the schools in order to bring those programs into our schools to serve the students that we know need to be served. And we also work together with certain clients that are part of our caravan program, families who are living in their cars. They have services that they can provide. We have services we can provide. So I wouldn't say we overlap. I would say we coordinate and connect, which requires good communication and good partnership, and that's the way we focus it.
Because essentially it could be that you're serving the same population, right, in some ways?
We could be serving the same population with different services, not with the same services.
Okay. And my other question is the free after school and the summer school program. Actually, I was not aware of that, so maybe it's just news to me. What is the criteria? Because I know we have the Kid First program at certain elementary schools, and I've heard from many parents that they wish they had it at other schools as well. So if this is a program that exists for the community, what is the criteria, and can we maybe at a later time get more information about that program?
I'd be happy to provide more information. This is through the 21st Century Community Learning Center grant, which is a state-run grant funded with federal dollars. the applications go in, and if you're funded for a 5-year period. Unfortunately, after our first application round, they chose to limit continued funding to only school sites who had been funded before. So we've kind of been stagnant in a pattern of it being Cyril's, Emmanuel, and Cesar Chavez, because those were the original schools funded. Every time it opens up, we try to at least get Hillview Crest on board. Some of the criteria has to do with the percentage of free and reduced lunch, the amount of need at the school. It's definitely a needs-based program.
And that student has to be from those designated elementary schools?
For the after-school program, yes. In the summer, we're able to, and we do open it up to other school sites. We have to give first priority for registration to students from those designated school sites, and then if there is space left, which there usually is, we're able to open it up to other schools.
Okay, and then just my last question or comment would be, I love the data that you guys presented, school site-wise, and also the different groups that might be able to take advantage of the services. Have you done any sort of studies or data maybe around which grade level uses your services the most? It might be skewed because you have the summer and the after-school program for K through 8, but has that been looked at in any ways, just to kind of see what kind of services would be more either add-on or necessary to?
I'm looking at my data queen sitting back here. Have we ever broken it down by grade level? No, but we could.
All right. Well, thank you.
That would be interesting to look at, for sure.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Me too. I would also like to say thank you for all the work that you are doing. You're doing an amazing job for our community, and we know that when kids meet their basic needs, they're more apt to come to school and produce and learn faster than they would have if they weren't hungry. I do have a question. Maybe you partially answered this already, but how do you get your clients? Is it those schools, just from those schools that you mentioned, for all the services?
Most of these folks back here spend about 95% of their time assigned to a school site or school sites. Most of them have more than one school site. And they're there to build relationships with the families, to be connected with the school site staff, and to bring services into their schools. And so it's through building those relationships in the school sites that we get to know what the needs are and what needs to be brought in. But another really critical part of what they do is they're connected to the absenteeism work that happens at the school sites. And so when a student begins showing signs that they're absent a lot or tardy a lot or maybe misbehaving in class a lot, they're brought to the attention of the family service assistant, and that person begins then connecting with the student and or the family to try to look at what are the root causes and what kinds of services might help to mitigate that.
Are all the sites covered?
Yes, but some are covered very little. Easton gets about 4 hours a week of an FSA, and Pioneer gets like a day, 1 day a week. So we only have so much resources, so we've had to spread it thin and really focus on what sites had the greatest needs.
So after you've done the relationship building, and let's say somebody recommended somebody, and you suspect there must be something that needs to happen, is there a certain qualification or criteria that they need to meet in order? No questions asked.
If they need the support and it's going to help get that child to school and performing better academically, we're there to serve. I will tell you that it winds up being that a majority of the families we serve do have economic need, but not all of them. Sometimes it's that they've experienced trauma in their lives and are trying to recover from that. There's a lot of things that bring a family to our attention.
Thank you. I have one last one. I saw the pie regarding where your resources are coming from. Are those specifically funds, or do you have people such as maybe a optometrist sharing their time and checking the kids' eyes, or a dentist for free services?
That pie chart only shows the funding. We also have, among those 40 agencies, many agencies that are pushing in services. All of the services we get with Big Smiles for dental care at the school sites, that's all in-kind services. We don't pay anything for that. The same thing with Vision to Learn, which provides the vision exams and glasses. That is all free.
And one last question. I did say that last time. The 24% from LCAP, is there a vision someday where you could get 100% support resources from other places?
Well, that's not really, in my opinion, feasible, but that's really up to the discussions that I continue to have with Mr. Pisani and the superintendent. There is work that we're doing that the district is mandated to do, and it's very difficult to get outside funders to be willing to support things that they know. Like, for example, supporting our students who are part of the McKinney-Vento Act who are displaced. We do a lot of that work. That's something that the district has to do. And so there is a vision to shrink that pot, absolutely. But to get it to zero would mean, A, that we don't really have matching funds, which are required for some of the grant funds that we have, and B, we would be asking outside funders to support work that we're mandated to do regardless.
Thank you so much. And again, keep up the good work, everyone.
Can I, Ms. Chima, can I add just something? Nancy, is Laura's in the room today?
Yes, she is.
Okay, well, I just wanted to personally thank you again for helping out with the Discovery STEM mother and daughter, because I know it was a huge push from you in getting all the Title I students, so thank you. Just wanted to say that.
So thank you again, Nancy, for all the hard work you guys done, the staff. I have witnessed myself the opening day, and I support this. I would also like to find out more information about the realignment, like Ms. Kaur has mentioned, that I know some sites they have a Kidango and the Kids First and the services through you. So maybe later on sometimes we can have a better understanding how the system works, so that we can have a more efficient way of helping more families.
If the board wishes, I can definitely supply information to the superintendent's office about how the kids qualify for that program. It is kind of a complex formula, and how the funding works coming down from the feds through the state.
Yeah, also, like you mentioned, New Haven Unified School is 24%. I would like to see the percentage you are getting from the Unicity city side.
I can tell you it's $25,000. I don't know exactly what percentage off the top of my head, but it's $25,000, and it's part of the Community Development Block Grant, which is actually also federal dollars.
I see. Well, since it's a Union City Family Center, I would expect that they should contribute a little bit more. Thank you.
We're always willing and waiting.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Number one.
Okay, I don't have too many. Just to let you know that we have a meetings last time we talked about this one, and it's still on schedule. Probably will postpone to the March or maybe early April, and we'll continue the Asian communities try to work with your group. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Great video. Was that Edgar's work?
No, that was done through our consultant, Nada Georgievich, who works with the district on a number of important stuff, yeah.
All right. Quick couple things for definition. What is urgent living specifically?
That would be food, help with shelter, might be shampoo, soap, laundry soap.
Okay.
Things that, if you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that basic needs level, it's whatever exists there at the bottom of the pyramid.
Okay, gotcha. And then if you had to categorize like your top needs, what would you say, like top 5 needs from our community, from our students?
Mental health support is big, and it has been a topic of our last couple of collaborative partner meetings, talking with our partners about how to access more support. I don't know, you guys.
Such as?
transportation, and we do provide a lot of snacks, and we provide food to families, but we also provide snacks to students who struggle with just getting through the day and the week with enough food.
Okay. And then I wanted to understand a little bit more about your survey. Can you talk a little bit more about the methodology in terms of fielding? Was it a random sample? Was it like, it's really hard to get people to fill out surveys.
Scott might be able to better answer that than I do, because it's the survey that we do as a district, where we survey parents, we survey students, and we survey faculty.
Okay.
And so it is a random sampling as far as I know,
okay.
And it's done pretty broadly. We just were able to tag on to it with a couple of specific questions connected to the work of the Family Center.
Okay. So it was pretty well sampled. It wasn't really skewed towards any direction in terms of respondents. Okay, great. Last question. Can you talk about the depth of your leadership? So for example, there's you, obviously. What does your succession plan look like for how we can continue the level of service that we've come to expect from the community?
That is a massive question, Mr. Nishihara. I don't know if I can answer that in the time that Derek's going to allot me. I definitely believe in shared leadership, and hopefully I have demonstrated that. And these three ladies sitting right here are part of the first three are part of my leadership team, and I know that many of you have seen them, have worked with them, have experienced how competent they are. And we share the leadership. It is not about me. It is about working with the families. The families really guide the what that we do, and we basically are the ones figuring out the how. And these ladies are very capable. I can tell you, I have a husband who has lots of health problems, and there have been times when I've just had to walk away for a few days or a week, and they are extremely competent to just step up and pick up what needs to happen. I want to think I'm a little bit important to that formula, but I have a very capable team, and they know how to work with autonomy.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for everything that you and your team do for our community. Yep.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No? No. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. All right. We're going to move to item 7.1, items from the board and superintendent. We'll start with our student board members.
Hello. Just a recap of what we did on Valentine's Day. We gave individual Valentines to every single student, and it was really cool, like seeing everyone's reactions, even though they thought it was kind of creepy. But it was really nice. I thought it was thoughtful. And nothing much is like really going on at Logan right now, other than we're working on SKIT, which is in March, and we're now working on a vaping awareness week, and it also coincided with like student mental health and stuff. And then one thing from the athletics commissioner, he's starting a student athletics advisory board. And there's basically going to be one person from every sport that's going on in the season. And they're just going to report issues, and then they're going to share it with me, and then I can share it with you guys. And that's it.
Okay, Member Gonzalez.
Hi. For Conley, this Thursday, February 20th, they scheduled their open house from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. And for Dakota Independent Studies, on March 16th, we're having a visit from the Western Association of Schools and Colleges and college. Also, since we had a waffle day in like December, and it was really like a huge success. A lot of students really enjoyed that. So right now we're actually planning to have a nacho day sometime in March. And then for both Conley and Dakota Independent Studies, there's this program called Raising Leaders, and it's only for the continuation schools. And I myself have been participating in this program. It's like a workshops where so far I've attended 2 of them, and so far we've had a congressman speak to us, we've had firefighters speak to us, we've had police officers speak to us, and honestly, like, the students are really appreciating, and it's a 3-hour workshop, but we're like enjoying our time because the person that actually works the program is Miss Davina, and props to her because I'm actually having a great time being in this program. And we actually end up, at the end of the program, if we go to every single day and community service hours and all that stuff, we end up receiving 5 school credits. So that's really awesome about the program. That's it.
Great.
Okay, Member Core?
Yeah, just one thing actually. On Valentine's Day last Friday, I was able to attend Delane Easton's square dancing. That was a lot of fun. You know, and I was thinking, when it used to rain in middle school, we used to square dance in the gym. And I didn't go to elementary school here, so I don't know, like that's when they started teaching you, right? So it was a lot of fun. It was a collaboration between the music program and the PE teacher. So I'm thankful to the coaches who reached out to us, and it was fun. It was fun.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Great. Member Canlis?
I was there too, except on Wednesday. So the kids were great instructors. They really shared with us the vocabulary, definition of vocabulary they were using, even though I kept on getting mixed up and screwed up the whole team, but it was so much fun. Just a reminder that for Alameda County School Board Association, our next meeting is on March 5th, and it would be on dashboard and mental health. Presentation from the Alameda County Office of Education. On May 13, there is it's an Advocacy Day in Sacramento, and the topics relate to mental health issues again, ethnic studies, healthcare, immigration, and this is a good day to discuss with legislators to persuade them to really look at these issues and help us fund them. Of course, is the biggest ask. On May 14, the day after that, the Alameda County School Board Association is sponsoring an event on ethnic studies as well, where the county is also presenting information regarding mental health issues, and I highly encourage board members to come in, and that way we know where we could support. And I know it's above and beyond what we do, but really at the end of the day, we all benefit here. The students benefit here in our school district because somebody else is helping us fund those things that we need to do. Just a reminder, we have numerous meetings coming up. February 25th, May 3rd, May 4th, and then the regular meetings in addition to that. So that's actually every Tuesday until the 17th. We skip the 24th, and then we continue to have meetings. So just a reminder, keep on your calendar. I know there are a lot meetings, but they're all for the good of the kids and the district. Let's see. That would be it for now. Thank you so much.
Member Chima?
I was able to attend the press conference hosted by the city last Friday regarding the homicide of 2 of our kids in the city. It was very high profile accident. People all over the world, even Toronto, my sister, when she watched, hey, what is happening in your city, 2 youngsters, they were killed in the school parking lot, even though they were not our students, but the fact that they were killed in a parking lot is a different perception in the community. So I'm glad that our school, our police department, Unicity Police Department, they were able to investigate and arrest the perpetrators so much. And also city taking the time to host that press release, so because it was a negative, kind of very negative perception about our city and our school district. So they did the right thing to invite all the channels, TV channels, and everybody. So it was well done, job well done. And I mean, those 2 kids will not be back, and we cannot reduce that suffering, but at least we have some closure to this case at this time. That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Member Chima. Just a reminder to the board, we have a governance session coming up, and to those of you who have sent in topics that you'd like to cover, thank you for doing that. Those who haven't, please send me any topics that you'd like to discuss during the governance session. Today on agenda, we'll be talking about, we'll be approving the contract for the facilitator, which I think is a very important expense and one that I think will help to improve our governance practice here. Also, congrats to all of the winter sports teams from James Logan. Girls soccer got their 5th straight MVL championship, and so I will be going to our first NCS meet tomorrow at Berkeley High School. What other MVL championships do we have from James Logan? Basketball?
I can tell you, we have boys and girls basketball are both going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then the boys and girls wrestling team were the NBAL champs and are going to be at NCS at Logan, the boys on Friday, and the girls at Albany on Friday.
So most of the winter sports. Okay, and then that's all I had, and then I'll cover the other things and other agenda items.
Okay, a few things. For starters, when we were in January at our board meeting, the staff recommended a list of reductions to close our budget gap in the for 2021, and starting there, we were shooting for about $2.4 million worth of reductions. Since then, we've been doing our LCAP and our budget development sessions out in the community, and we've got a lot of feedback, a lot of good feedback. And at this time, I just want to let the board know that we are removing from that list of recommendations the increase in TKK class size. We were proposing going from 24 to 26, but based on input from NHTA and the community, we're listening, and we're trying to be responsive, and we're going to look for other ways to close that budget gap. So that's something, again, I think will be good. Anyway, like I said, we listened and we heard, and we're responding. So Lance mentioned the athletic part of some of the great things that happen in our city. 2 other areas, performing arts. That we have, our Logan band was invited to perform at the California All-State Music Conference. It's quite an honor, and they have a dress rehearsal. I think it's tomorrow at 2:30. Does that sound right? So if you have time, you can go listen to a preview of the 50-minute concert that they're going to give. It's quite an honor. I think they're the only band in the state, as far as I know, that's being asked to represent that festival. So good news for them. And then on the academic side, Alvarado Elementary School got the Distinguished School Award. They're having on the 28th a site-based reception for that award, and that's at 1:30 if anybody wants to go check that out. So that's the 28th. 28th. And it's at 1:30. So again, we've got, as usual, great athletic programs, great performing arts programs, and quality academics that we can celebrate. So that's it for me.
Excellent.
Can I add one more?
Of course.
Just a reminder that March 3rd is an important date. Don't forget to vote. We have Measure U for the city and Measure C for the county. That's the one on childcare. And of course, Proposition 13. So don't forget to vote. Your vote is very important. Thank you.
All right, excellent. All right. Moving on to item 8.1, report from the Budget and Finance Committee.
There was no meeting this time.
Well, our meeting is scheduled on March 12th, and then we also have the parcel and bond comparison meeting on March 4th. Is that correct? March 4th? And with facilities, of course, on March 3rd.
Okay. All right. Item 8.2, which is the report from the Communication and Advocacy Committee. Since the last meeting, we didn't have a meeting to report out from the last board meeting, but since then we've scheduled our next meeting for February 27th, starting at. Do we have a start time for that one yet?
4 p.m.
4 p.m. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, Lori. Okay, and then also one of the things that you'll start noticing is across our all of our communication channels, we're going to be aligning them with new brand assets that are being created. So across our social media, you'll start to see that layering in over the next couple of weeks, and we have a punch list that staff is going through right now. Other than that, that's all we have for 8.2. 8.3, other committees that board members are assigned to. Okay.
Well, I already reported for the Advocacy County School Board Association. So I'm not going to repeat myself.
Okay. We can also talk about the New Haven Schools Foundation. We'll reiterate it again. We're in the middle of a scholarship. Right now, the scholarships are being accepted through the foundation website. And if you're a senior or you know a senior who would like to apply for any of the many scholarships, it should top over $150,000 this year. Please go to the website. I forget when the deadline is, but you can find all that information.
March 1st is the deadline.
March 1st is the deadline. Thank you, Member Corr. Yes.
Also, the grants are.
Oh, yes. Also, the New Haven Schools Foundation also is in the process of collecting applications for their classroom grants. Details and the application can also be found on the foundation website at nhsffoundation.org. Okay. All right, moving on to 9.1, which is public comment, hearing of visitors, topics not on the agenda. Do we have any cards?
No.
Okay. All right, then moving on to, that was 9. Did I miss one? Hang on. No, 9.1. Okay, and then moving on to 10, 10.1, which is public comment, hearing of visitors for topics on the agenda. Do we have any cards?
We have 3. First one is Gavin Smith.
Okay, with 3, we'll have 3 minutes each.
Good evening. Thank you guys for having comments. The first thing I want to talk about is the Unicity Family Center. One of the things that Nancy pointed out is that Union City doesn't contribute a sizable amount of funding. NHTA met with the mayor and also Jaime Patino, and we wanted to know about what Measure U's funding can be used, and I would encourage board members and the superintendent to continue your efforts in getting Union City to contribute more to Union City Family Center. It's their city, we're part of that city, and they should be helping fund that. Thank you, Trustee Chima, for bringing that up too. The part that I wanted to talk about tonight had to do with the consultant, 11-3. There was a lot of buzz over it over the weekend. I'm going to communicate some of the information that was communicated to me. People are still very raw about being told there's no money for things, but kind of like when you were a kid and you saw your parents spending money on what they wanted, but they didn't always spend things that maybe the family needed for this or that. It comes down to priorities, and I know that there's been a lot of talk about priorities. And I do believe that leadership training, training on roles and responsibility protocols, and assisting in self-evaluations are important things, but at $200 an hour, and additionally $100 an hour for transportation, that seems very excessive. Considering also that I know that there's been efforts made to help raise funding for subs. We still have difficulties getting subs. My wife and I are both teachers. We were both sick last week. She's a pre-K special ed teacher, and 3 of the 4 days that she was out, there was not a sub, and so a class of 3 to 5-year-old kids, many with autism and other types of disabilities, were combined from a class size that's usually no larger than 12 to about 19 to 20. At times, principals and admin are stepping in and subbing. At Logan, I know swing is something that the district has tried to act as a stopgap measure, but even the sub quality there has been raised as concerns. So my point would be is that there's a lot of need for spending in the classroom, and I don't see that the need is there for a consultant to train the board members. Some of the comments that came on also was just the idea that we have an election coming up in November, so why not wait until after the election to discuss training? So that is it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next up, we have Joe Angeles.
Good evening, President Nishihara, Clerk Wang, members of the board, student reps, district staff, Dr. Thompson, teachers and classified staff in the gallery, as well as the parents and community members. Thank you for this opportunity. I did want to say, like Gavin expressed, in this era of really looking very critically at money that the district has for services in the district, it is kind of pretentious kind of consideration after these several months of talking about budget to hire a consultant at what we would say is an exorbitant rate. Obviously, we think and have confidence in our own skills that perhaps another way to get training and understanding awareness of your duties could be found another way, such as how you want other things to happen in this district. It should go for the top as well. So we appreciate and would like to request that you consider that ongoing with any kind of consideration for an exorbitant cost, which that kind of demonstrates. I'll also take a time, it would be remiss of me not to say my thanks to Dr. Thompson. The mention that of the change of the reduction listing that took off one of the most important conversations since last spring. Class size increase has been taken off for consideration and reduction. I think is a very valuable lesson, and I appreciate the conversation that he has had with us in terms of trying to solve a problem that we saw happening last year, and moving forward, it had to be something different. And I think the fact that he mentioned the conversation from the community, the conversation from the teachers, and listening to those kind of real valued insight, and taking that to heart to have a conversation with you. We really do recognize that, and we really hope moving forward that kind of consideration, collaboration, and acceptance of those kind of insights of those who do the service, those who provide the extra service, and those who provide service above and beyond the typical things most people do in their job. So again, I did want to say I appreciate the board's consideration and understanding of that involvement from the community. And of course, like I said, Dr. Thompson for his open conversation for those considerations. Thank you.
Thank you, President Angeles. Okay.
One more?
One more.
Colleen Hazlitt.
Well, hello. I was hoping not to have to come and speak this year, but here we are. Okay, regarding your MOU with your consultant and reading the page on the roles and responsibilities, one of the things is roles and responsibilities of the board protocols. There's a book for that already. It's called Robert's Rules of Order. And if you're confused, I'm sure we'll be happy to supply those for you. I don't know why you would need to pay somebody $200 an hour to tell you something that's already in place. I did a search for the consultant that you're hiring. He's connected with CSBA. Through that website, I found online training. It even says you can do it in your pajamas. Here's registering for it. 5 board members and a superintendent, $1,500. Certainly that's a lot less expensive than the $200 an hour consultant plus the $100 travel time that you're going to be paying for this consultant. One of the things that came up numerous times last year was too many consultants. We hoped you heard, but it's clearly not showing that you did. And I'll be happy to show you the website if anybody is confused about it.
Okay. All right, moving on to 11.1, action items. Just a second. May I have a motion and a second to approve the list identified for members to the delegate assembly election for the 2020 board?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
There are 3 members listed on this list over here. However, there was a mistake with CSBA, and they neglected to send another candidate. Monique Tate from San Leandro is also running, so I'm proposing that we include her as the 4th person in that list and as a write-in. And they're asking us to vote for 3.
Mm-hmm.
May I have a question? So did we get any communication from the CSBA that they have not sent the information about that candidate?
I have not received any. I've only received some communication from the candidate Tate. but nothing from CSBA.
John, did we get any communication from the CSBA that Melissa is an official candidate?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
I also want to add, if you look at the list of people who are termed out this 2020, there are 5 openings, and they're asking only for 3. So there's a discrepancy somehow. So I'm not sure where the miscommunication happened. All I know is there are 5 openings, they're asking us for 3, and they're missing a 4th one. And the completed paperwork were sent to the president.
Okay. So then I guess the question that I have is, what's the pleasure of the board in terms of the slate that we want to approve for submission to CSBA? It sounds like we have James Aguilar from San Leandro. I've been in Masters in Governance training with him. I've known him personally. He's quite young. He's quite energetic. Mia Lisa Bonta, she's actually done professional development actually here in this district. Quite a few times, I think, as a part of the Guiding Coalition a few years ago. I'm not familiar at all with Ann White from Livermore.
Ann White has been the representative for a long time, and I've not seen any changes in services for this part of town. She's from, was it Livermore?
Livermore.
Livermore. So my thinking is we should have people who are from this side of town, so they know our demographics, they know our needs, and they're more up to advocate for our needs in this area. And like I said, that person has been there forever, and things are in status quo, and things are not changing, and they're the same. And there's a lot of issues out there that needs to be addressed, and I think a representative needs to advocate for the needs of the people they represent.
Okay. Any other further discussion? Yes, Member Chambers.
So I know all 3 candidates, including Ann White. I know she has been a board member for 29 years. But
did you say?
29 years.
29?
School board member. School board member. Yeah. So she has a lot of experience under her belt. So, but I'm not against the new candidate, Monique Tate, either. All of them, they're good. My comment is about, because we did not get the communication from CSBA directly, I would like to have these 3 candidates elected to the 3 open positions. Like Linda have said already, there are more open positions. So let CSBA process those candidacies for the open seats later on. So we should not get into that CSB's, how they have done this or how they have dealt this. We don't have any authority on that. That's what I believe. So whatever CSBA has communicated to us, these candidates, there are 3 seats, 3 candidates, just vote for them. So hopefully there will be more appointments, and they can just appoint the other people.
So, okay. So if any other further discussion from anyone else on?
Perhaps we could vote for them one at a time instead of a group of 3. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I think for me, I would have to echo Ms. Chima's too. I mean, I think you're the first one I'm hearing from that Monique is on this. We haven't heard any information. I know Monique as well. I would have loved for her to be on this, but we have to go by what is communicated to us. Sure, we can add someone in if we need to. What is the deadline that we need to have these by? Can we push it out until April?
There is still time.
No, it's March. Has to be postmarked March.
March 5th, I believe.
March.
So there is no other meeting. So
Yeah.
today is the meeting that we need to
So
decide.
if today is a decision, personally, I would have to go by what information was provided to us, but if we can push it out to our April meeting and have CSBA fix their, slots, if that's what's the issue is, then I'd ask we wait, but it doesn't seem like we have.
Is there any way we could do it on the Tuesday meeting?
The ballots are due to be postmarked no later than March 16th.
Right,
March 16th. So we can add that to an agenda.
Right, so if we have it on February 25th, we could vote then? Can we do it then?
We have a
No, we
regular
don't
board
have a
meeting on the 10th,
February 25th.
March 10th.
We have board study, we can't do it then?
No.
Well,
It has
you
to
could, but
be
we have a
a
regular.
session.
It has to be a regular
So
board
we can
meeting.
we can actually do it then.
Right.
If you want background information.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or a
Maybe.
communication from the CSBA. I know
Right.
the background, I know the
Right.
person, but communication from the CSBA.
Right. Is there any way we could call CSBA and find out why it did not make her paperwork to us?
Why don't we do that? Why don't we handle that in 14.1, which is our consensus item? And then we'll direct staff to do that. And so then, for that, we're going to take no action on this item today. Fair
So
enough?
we're putting on parking lot for the
Well,
next board meeting,
yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah,
I
you
can
got
live
it.
with that.
Good suggestion.
Okay, 11.2, do I have a motion and a second to approve our 1920 comprehensive school safety plans?
So moved.
Second?
All right, discussion.
So much reading.
A lot of reading.
I do have a couple of questions, actually.
Okay.
As I was going through all those 150, 160 page
Each.
per site, yes. I jotted them down. Now my font is too small, but okay. One of the first ones that it came to my mind, I think it was last February that we had the lockdown at Logan. And talking then with Orlando, I was also kind of understanding from other folks as well that there was some confusion about the code, which code to use. Was it code pink, red, or blue? I forget which one was the mix-up. And also when we had the students evacuate, or students, be released to their parents with the UCPD present, it took really long time. So what I wanted to understand was, there is a section for training, and it kind of lays out who's going to be leading it, who's in charge. At these trainings, do we have the police department or the fire department or any of the other emergency response team that trains with our site administrators?
The answer is it depends. On an annual basis, the answer is no. That training is done internally. When there's a change in protocol, typically we'll have professionals come in and help with that. But it's not part of the annual process of updating the security plans.
Okay, so if there is an evacuation or a lockdown and a UCPD is present, I feel like there's going to be a disconnect between the department, the police department, and maybe possibly our administrators as to how they should be working together and maybe how things should be done. Well, I'm only bringing that up because in February, just last year when we had the lockdown, this actually happened. And one of the learnings was that it took really long time for us to get the kids out. And I think if that was something that we actually had, a live training, it should be taken into consideration. So either possibly include them for a larger, maybe Logan site for one of our next emergency plan meetings. So just something to keep in mind. And speaking of Logan, and I noticed that, and I didn't see this in any of the other sites, but the Logan, the school safety plan had the Logan schools behavior data. It's on page 46 if you wanted to look at it. There were some things that were kind of a concern. If you look at it, the incidents that caused physical injuries or behavioral problems, and the highest number on there, which were upwards of 1,000 incidents for the 2 years, I believe was 2018 to 2020, were the truancies. So how does this data get used once you have the data? What are the learnings you take from this?
Yeah, I don't know specifically what they do with that data. We'll have to research that and get back to you.
Okay, because it was the data that I had asked, I believe last year or the year before that, asking because we had quite a few expulsions at 1 year, and I had asked if we can break it down as to what are the causes, right? What are some of the trends that we're seeing in these expulsions? So this was kind of alarming for me to see such high numbers, especially in the physical harm, injuries, and also the behavioral and truancies obviously being the highest.
Can I ask a question on what you're looking at? On the truancy, is that, did they take the strike on the account, or is that?
I have no idea, but I believe this is 2 years data. And I don't know if I recall seeing that last year, but this is the first year, and I didn't see it in any of the other school sites, but this was included for Logan on page 46. And it's just labeled behavioral data.
Yeah, if it includes last year's data, we know that the entire district's is it looks like the entire district's truant for, as
Right.
one of the indicators on the dashboard.
Right, and as.
And it wouldn't be 1,000, it wouldn't be 1,000
No, but
days.
in
or-
addition to what they already have,
Well, it
because it's a
could-
bigger, proportionately, number-wise, the bigger school, so.
Right.
It
So-
could be 1,000 days, though.
Right,
You
so
have
in
3,000
it-
kids.
So yeah,
Right.
it'd be
Yeah.
interesting to know how, because it is 2 years data. Let me see when it was, January 22nd, 20. So yes, it could possibly
Yeah.
include that. So just having an explanation to these large numbers, I think would be something
Yeah.
would be helpful. But
If I could ask, if you could write that, you come up with specific questions and send them to us, and then we can take a look at them.
certainly,
Yeah, because I was thinking proportionately, in an elementary school, if everybody was gone, it would only be 600 truant students. But at Logan, if you have most of the kids gone, even just 2/3 of the kids gone, it's over 1,000. So I'm wondering if that's related.
yeah. Well, I think my other, like I said, that was the highest. But then you do have the incidents that required or that had physical altercations and injuries. Like those were also alarming for me, considering what we just had in the last couple of weeks. And I will certainly email that as well. That's all I have.
Okay, any other discussion items? Okay, as a reminder, we have a motion and a second on the table, so I'll ask for a roll call.
Rick. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Ford.
Aye.
Callis.
Aye.
Chima.
Aye.
Wong. Nishihara.
Aye. Okay, moving on to 11.3, may I have a motion and a second to approve the MOU with consultant William Hewitt?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
I have a question since our community have some concerns about that. So do we have a ballpark of the total cost for this consultation? I know we have a 3-hour session,
Yeah.
2.5 hours, and
So just ballparking, I would imagine for a 3-hour session, that'd be about $600.
Right.
I don't know what the travel time would be. I believe he lives in
Lodi.
Lodi.
Yeah.
So let's just call it about a 6-hour, no, 3 up, no, about 2 up, 2 back, so call it 4, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's probably less than 2, about.
Right, but it gives the impression that he will be coming more than one time, or is this just the one time this time?
This is a
Well, this is just the MOU just to set the
Okay,
contract.
so,
This is not an invoice.
Right.
Right.
So do we have a ballpark of total cost then?
Well, if you figure 3 hours at $200 an hour, there's $600, and figure 4 hours of travel time, so there's another $400. So you're looking at $1,000
So it's
for
$1,000
the session.
So it's still cheaper than the CSBA. It's one of
It
the
would be,
council
yes.
members. Yeah, right. So
Yeah. And I also want to kind of just kind of tease out a part as well, which is really this isn't really about training, right?
Yeah.
This is
Right.
a facilitation to ensure that our group
Board policies,
yes,
yeah.
that our board policies are up to date, that our protocols
Yeah.
and our processes are all aligned. And in order to do that, we could actually do self-facilitation, right? But we always know that it's best practice to have a third party come in who's not invested in any particular outcome to
Yeah.
give a neutral third-party view. of it.
Right. And I think it was not included in the when we had the consultant giving us the superintendent's.
No, it's a different service.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, just want to make sure. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm wondering, like, is it so important that it's that person who is the person who's doing the training and like reviewing the board information? Like, it matters it's him?
What really is important is that whoever it is that's facilitating the conversation, number one, has the skills to actually facilitate. So there's that. And also to be mindful and an expert in understanding school board policies, as well as the dynamics of a governing team. And so, yeah, it does kind of it is important in the sense that the person has to be well-versed in, this particular person was a superintendent for several years. And so, yeah, having a certain level of subject matter expertise is important, yes.
Another comment that we have previously done with from the training, this session, facilitation of this session, it's not actually a training, it's a facilitation of session. We will be talking among ourselves, we will be giving chance to how we want to govern ourselves. So we have done through CSBA this kind of facilitation before, and then also one time we did with Dr. Lee, remember?
And CSBA, Luan Rivera, and they were more
Luana,
expensive.
she did many times, yeah.
They're more
than 10.
expensive. This is
Right,
a
they are
lot
more
cheaper.
expensive, actually, that's why,
It's almost half.
we explore the, this.
And in the past, when we've actually done it with CSBA, I've found their approach to be relatively kind of boilerplate, like let's go through the handbook and let's just kind of update our handbook. And I think that what this board needs is a little bit more specific and tailored to our specific board. So it's not just a cookie cutter, just run them through the process of that.
Also, it depends upon who CSBA sends us to. So I know Luana was good, but there were other people we feel like they did not have much value. So, right.
Before I move on, Member Frick, I just want to make sure that your question was answered.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering, there's no cheaper options who has the same expertise.
Not that I'm aware of. In fact, like was said here, there's a CSBA package that's actually probably more expensive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, I think we skipped it last year. We didn't do it for
We didn't
last
do it
year.
last year,
Right.
yes.
So, yeah.
That's true.
It's this kind of deal, yeah.
So it's super necessary that we actually do it this year? It couldn't wait a little bit longer?
Well, when you take a look at kind of the cost, which is, it is an incremental cost, but relative to, like I said, we didn't have it last year, and there are actually a lot of things that I would love to talk about in terms of governance, that this is not the proper venue to talk about governance. Like if there are issues with how and why we vote, those types of things. That's actually best contained in a non-business meeting, which is best facilitated by an expert.
Also, that's a good point that this is there will be some change in the chemistry of the board after this election. But I don't know. Yeah, I'm open about that. If the rest of the board is willing to entertain that, it's up to you, board members.
If I could just add one thing to address Gianna's comment. One of the things about having Bill come in is it often, and probably why CSBA charges more, is there's usually a pre-interview component to this kind of thing. But because Bill has worked with all of you before, there's no pre-interview part, which is why he's able to do this in what would be less amount of time, probably than CSBA, for less cost than what CSBA would charge. So that's the advantage of having this person come.
So it's also, I think we have already made a commitment with him, huh?
I'm sorry.
We already have made the commitment with Hugh.
Bill's the proposal. Yeah, he's the only person that we've looked at here. You could look for somebody else, but they would probably be the pre-interview component.
No. I'm not looking for an alternative person. I'm looking for, because if we postpone it to next year, is it possible or is it too late because we already made the commitment?
No, you haven't committed to anything yet. That's and in the contract tonight actually only commits you to the terms of the contract. It doesn't, the invoice would come when you actually have the work done.
Yeah. Okay, I'm open if the rest of the board feels that we can have it next year, so it's up to you.
Okay. As a reminder, there's a motion and a second to approve the MOU. That's what's on the table right now. Any further discussion? Okay, then I'll call a roll call.
Rick.
Aye.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Core.
Aye.
Callis.
Aye.
Jiva.
Aye.
Wong. Ishihara.
Aye. Okay. Moving on to consent. Are there any, may I have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items 12.1 through 12.4 and 12.6 through 12.42?
Before we do that, if I ask for an amendment, do we do it at the discussion?
We can do it either way. In fact, if you want to, I can withdraw the motion and just ask if there are any items that any members would like to pull for separate vote or discussion.
Right, just on one of the first one, the minutes, one of my comments, it says that it was put on hold. the advocacy was put on hold. It was not put on hold. It was actually scheduled for May 13. It's the right date, so it wasn't put on hold. That's all.
Okay, did you get that? All right, so I'll read that as it can stay on, on the consent calendar.
With the amendments.
Okay. All right, all right, so we didn't actually get a full motion, so I'm going to repeat the motion again. May I have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items 12.1 through 12.4 and 12.6 through 12.42?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion?
I do have a question on 12.19. Cannot pull up my notes, but it was the revised board policy on bullying, the first reading. There was a lot of stuff that has been crossed off. Is there a reason why we do not have in this particular policy the prevention and also the investigation and resolution of complaints? Is that just something in a different policy now, where it's not part of the requirement to have in this particular? Pretty much everything is crossed off, is what I'm saying.
Gamut, since we use Gamut, that's the service that goes through and makes sure all policies that they send us are legally compliant. And so this is their recommendation to make this policy legally compliant. There are ARs that are our administrative regulations that we have in place that we, once the board approves the overarching policy, we develop that how we go about implementing the policy after that. And if you look at the AR, I think you'll find a lot of that there.
Would ARs be included, like will they be noted when you go into this board policy? So if you wanted to do a follow-up?
No.
Not yet, but they will be before the second reading.
ARs don't come to the board, just the policies.
Yeah.
But there will be a reference to it.
I can do that.
Okay. The only reason I'm asking is because this is bare minimal right here. It's like literally 5 sentences. So if I wanted to know how can someone, prevent this bullying, or what are some of the interventions, right? What are the ways of reporting and complaining? Where would I find that information if I wanted to either give that to someone without having to maybe reach out to one of you guys? How do we go about having that referenced?
And I can just speak in general for any policy. If there's parts that we have to implement at the operational level, you'll find a matching administrative regulation. Not all policies have administrative regulations, but for anything that is tied to a complaint process or something like that, you'll find the matching administrative regulation usually right behind the board policy. Not something the board approves, but when you go into the actual policies online, you usually see them there. I'm not familiar with all of the nuances of this policy in the AR, but that's something we could send you.
Okay.
Question related to that. I thought I saw another policy that are separated just specifically for bullying and then specifically for complaint procedures so that they are addressed there individually.
There are a lot of overlapping areas when it comes to bullying, sexual harassment, Title IX issues, general complaint issues, and I know that there's been a legislative effort, and you see some of that reflected here, to try to streamline that. So instead of having 14 different procedures for complaining, they try to funnel them into just a few different types of complaint procedures, and I believe that's one of the things they're trying to accomplish here.
Right. Okay, so I'm just trying to say that this is not the only place where this is addressed. So there are other policies where they're actually talking in details about bullying, about complaint procedures and so
But this
on.
would be the only board policy.
It is referencing other policies like 4118, 4119. So
Yeah.
So there are some sections that actually do remain. So,
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
I can send you the gamut information that specifically tells you why they're removing things.
I mean, I think they're removed because of the, right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I understand why they're removed, but particularly this one, everything was taken out.
It would be interesting for you to see why they did a lot of what they did.
Sure.
The things that they were requesting and requiring. It's really not appropriate.
Yeah.
It'll say right here. I'll send you what the gamut says and why they did it.
Sure.
It just would be interesting for you to see.
Okay, it can remain. I just wanted to get that clarified.
I just want to have some clarification about 12.23 device board policy, word language instruction, first reading.
What's your question?
Question is, in the policy, it says on page 1, in the middle, instruction in world language shall be offered to secondary school students beginning no later than grade 7 and shall be designed to develop student skills in understanding, speaking, reading, and writing languages. So that means we will not offer the world language in the high school, or we have to give it that language in 7th grade? What does that mean?
Well, we have a whole a scope and sequence of courses that we offer at the high school that includes some of what you're talking about. I think it's just setting the floor of when you have to start offering it. But certainly, if you take a look at our Logan course guide and the course guides in our middle schools, you'll see that reflected there.
No, the wording, beginning no later than grade 7. So my question is, some of the language they are not offered at the middle school level.
Right.
So they're only offered at the high school level. So if we are not offering them at no later than 7th grade, will that impact to the other languages which are not offered at the middle schools?
I got to tell you, we have a lot of these policies. We're going to have to look that up.
Please find out.
The short of it is,
clarification
it's setting the foundation or the floor of what we have to offer, and then we can offer beyond that, is what it's saying. But we're really, we have a lot of these. When it comes to the level of questions that are that detailed, what I would encourage you to do is write them down, send them to us, and then we can get back to you. But we don't have staff here to answer all of those types of questions now.
So I can let it stay on the agenda and pass it, but I would like to find the clarification, and if there is something which is restricting our students to sign up for any other language after 7th grade, then we need to revisit it.
Yeah, this is not intended to restrict anything.
Right, it seems from this wording, but it's, Thank you.
Okay. So it sounds like, go ahead.
Yeah, there was another comment, just a comment in my mind, that the music classes, in the end, the new courses for the dance, not music, actually, dance classes. When I read the description, our James Logan High School, we are kind of, on the top of the US or world, so to speak, in offering their various courses. So they're talking about some dance types. And I was thinking that, if we can have, maybe not this time, it's just a comment, maybe in the future, next year, something, we can have a world dances where they can include some more dances on the rest of the world, not only the ballet, folklore, or something like that. So maybe Kathak, which is Indian, Asian, or maybe something from Filipino, other languages, other dances, to variety of dances, if they can include more dances in the course description, if they can offer those or make the arrangement in the future. Yeah.
All right.
That's it.
Okay. Then with the motion and the second on the table for the consent agenda items, may I have a roll call, please?
Rick. Aye. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Ford.
Aye.
Hamlis.
Aye.
Shima.
Aye.
Nishihira.
Aye. Okay. All right, moving on to board 14.1, board requests of staff. I think I'd actually like to start with Member Frick. Actually, sorry, Member Core.
I don't really have anything specific, but I did send an email to the superintendent, so if he can just get us the detail, maybe to the board on it.
Okay.
I don't have anything specific to add to this, the consensus.
Okay. Member Hamlis. Member Chima.
I will just say the request I just made in the consent agenda, that policy clarification about the world language policy we just have. So that's it.
Okay.
And that was, which policy was that? That again, that was 23 or I'm sorry, that was item, okay, 6142.2, world language.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay.
That's it.
And then I have a couple things I've jotted down. Last meeting, Member Core mentioned that she would like to revisit and not lose sight of the SRO topic that we had raised a while ago. I also jotted down that Member Chimo is asking for Unicity Family Center criteria for involvement in the program. And then what I would, one of the things that, and also we also have a request to get the background on the CSBA delegate election, official information from CSBA for our next board meeting. Also, Member Kaur mentioned that she wanted a little bit of an explanation and a breakdown of the truancy numbers from the safety plan. Did you want?
I mean, it's not something that I need to have right away, but I mean, it could, I think it's worth looking at.
Okay.
It's worth looking at, so maybe if it just points all to the strike, then we have an easy answer, but if not, then let's dig into it and see why we had such high truancy.
Okay. And then truancy numbers, and then there was Member Chima's request around the policy with regard to both world language, starting in the 7th grade, and the world, the dancing, different types of dancing.
Word dance, yeah, adding, so.
All right, and then one thing that I would like is from the work sessions that we've had with the public recently. I know that we've had quite a few. Once they are at a point where we can have kind of a distillation, a report of what that looks like, just basically some themes. What are some things that we can learn from those work sessions? I mean, we've already gotten some clear signal on some things, but also having like a detailed list of what the community feedback is looking like, that would be very helpful, I think.
Yeah, we're compiling all of that, and that'll all be, ideally, we'll get that together, have that available to everybody publicly.
Excellent. All right. That's all we had for the board member requests of staff.
Oh, I have one more. I've been thinking about it, but I've been forgetting. But we have 5 goals. Remember previously, Linda, we used to have a list of goals behind in the end of the agenda, so that it keeps on reminding us all the time, if they want to add it.
It's actually on board docs, the goals. It's actually on the board doc website.
Yeah.
We'll get in there too. We can put them up. I don't mind printing them out and having them available for us too. It's good to keep us focused on them.
Yeah. Yep. We did it before.
Yeah, I like that.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further business, we're adjourned.